This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
On the eve of the holy month of Ramadan, the Palestinians endured more living hardships imposed by the occupation forces. Israel has imposed a total closure on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, effective midnight, amid fear of attacks during the Jewish New Year holiday. Meanwhile, the occupation forces carried out raids and sweeps, including the arrest of 18 Palestinian activists in the suburbs of Jenin, Nablus, Ramallah, and Hebron in the West Bank. The daily arrests and violations against the Palestinians no longer have effects on the meetings between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Mahmoud Abbas and Olmert are about to reveal a series of agreements, including a deal that makes Jerusalem the capital for both Israel and the future Palestinian state. In addition, Israel will compensate Palestinian refugees and amend its settlements in the West Bank. More details regarding these articles and others are expected to be revealed before the International Peace Conference that convenes at the end of next month. Mohammed Al-Sayed has more details in the following report from Occupied Jerusalem.
The Israeli and the Palestinian committees are still laying down the groundwork for the Principles of Understanding document ahead of the International Peace Conference scheduled for November 20th in Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, the Palestinian president and the Israeli prime minister continue to make progress regarding several outstanding issues in this agreement.
There appears to be no official agreement, whether it's a preliminary or final draft, between the Israelis and Palestinians regarding the Palestinian state or final status issues. Therefore, we can conclude that these reports leaked during the past few days were only rhetoric.
According to the agreement, Israel will gradually withdraw from the West Bank, where the Palestinians will establish a non-military state with Jerusalem as its capital and will be also the capital of Israel. Moreover, both sides agreed to find a permanent solution to the issue of Palestinian refugees. These issues and others are not far off from the Arab Peace Initiative.
Without a doubt, the issues that have been leaked contain objectivity to some degree, but we must proceed with caution. I expect that these issues will be subject to further negotiations between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
This agreement implies a mutual recognition as well as Israel's acceptance of establishing a Palestinian state. It also includes other issues, including Jerusalem, Palestinian refugees, and mutual recognition.
The Palestinian public, which has always proceeded with caution when dealing with these issues, seem today to be more optimistic about the recent political maneuvers. The results of the upcoming meetings between Abbas and Olmert in the next few weeks will decide the framework of the two-state solution that is expected to be announced in the International Peace Conference in Washington, D.C. The Washington-sponsored peace conference will likely be overshadowed by the talks between the Palestinians and Israel. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice is expected to mount more pressure on Olmert during her upcoming visit next week. This news comes after Abbas told Washington that he will not attend the International Peace Conference unless both sides agree on all articles of their joint declaration of principles.
Some old cases have been reopened during the current administration of Ehud Olmert. This news comes after the office of the Prime Minister confirmed that it will submit to Olmert the Bailin Abu Mazen document dated back to 1995, which Mahmoud Abbas then approved. Abbas and Olmert want to use some of the articles mentioned in the document in their declaration of principles that will be submitted before the International Peace Conference on November 20th. According to the Beilan Abu Mazen document, Israeli settlers in the new Palestinian state will retain their Israeli citizenships, and the settlements will not be referred to as Jewish towns. The Palestinian refugees will not be allowed to return to their original towns, but to the new Palestinian state. In addition, Jerusalem will be under a joint administration with a Jewish mayor, and a final solution on its sovereignty has been left for future negotiations.
Let me ask you, if I may, whether you think that in this new year, Israel will recover from the traumas of the last year that we all went through in the wake of the Lebanon war?
My answer is positively yes. I look forward to the next year with a great deal of self-assurance that we can really deter our enemies, that we can handle our situation, and that what happened economically is almost a miracle. And I think it will be continued.
Now, I don't expect you, sir, to enlighten us as to the mystery on the Syrian-Turkish border from last week, but I would like to ask you if you were informed of what happened there and if you are pleased by what happened there.
I'm not a military commentator. I can speak about the policy vis-à-vis Lebanon and Syria. I think Israel is sincerely interested in peace with Syria as well. If the Syrian will come and say, let's negotiate. But they want an American intermediary. How can American come in when Syria is acting against America and Lebanon? The problem today is Lebanon, more than anything else.
Well, the Syrians say, sir, that Israel says it wants peace, but that last week's action proves otherwise.
Who prevented them in the last years to do so? 3 prime ministers offer them peace in the best possible conditions. Why did they reject it?
What about our southern border? What about Gaza, where the Qassam rocket fire continues, where the people of Sderot continue to suffer? Do you see any solution to that situation in the coming year?
You know, the confrontation is not just military, but also humanly. It's a competition who has a better stamina, the people in Gaza or the people in Israel. Since the people in Israel don't attack the people in Gaza, but the other way around, they will have to carry the cost humanly. Finally, the children in Gaza will turn to the leaders in Gaza and tell them, stop killing Israeli children and us paying the price as well.
Well, that hasn't happened yet, sir. As you know, what will make it happen? Will it have to be a large-scale army operation inside Gaza?
Operation shouldn't be measured by its scale, but by its wisdom. What I mean large scale? The army is proposing there must be a certain sense of proportion, what is helping and what is counterproductive. And I think the army is applying the right measures, which are necessary not to hit, for example, the civilian population. On the other hand, to prevent them from continuing to fire rockets that nobody understands what for, why, what do they want to achieve. There are no Israelis in Gaza, neither military nor civilian. Why are they firing?
Now,
Those are ideological rockets, not political.
Sir, as you know, Prime Minister Olmert is deep in conversation with the Palestinian Authority Chairman Mahmoud Abbas, and they're trying to arrive at a written document to present at the November conference in Washington. Is it your belief, based on what you know, and you know a great deal, that there is a realistic chance that they will, in fact, that the Palestinian Authority Chairman will sign such a document?
What I know is there is a good chemistry between Abu Mazen and our Prime Minister, which is very important. Secondly, what I agree is that the negotiation should be conducted discreetly. Otherwise, it will become a press conference. And thirdly, what I believe is possible is to achieve a declaration of principles on the given date.
In writing? And signed by both sides?
There is only in writing. I mean, you don't achieve declaration of principles, but in writing. I don't say it's already done, or it should, but I say there is a fair chance to achieve it.
And I understand that you will be meeting the Palestinian Authority Chairman, Mahmoud Abbas. Is that correct, in the near future? Do you have a date for that meeting yet?
I'm coordinating with the Prime Minister, and we shall put it in on the right time at the right place.
So I'd like to ask you this question. There are those in the country who do not share your political views, and they say President Peres is our president as well, and yet we feel that he does not represent us in his public statements. What do you say to them?
What is representing them? If a president is for peace, does it mean he gets himself involved in politics? Can you imagine a president of Israel that won't support peace, or that will be reluctant about peace?
Well, perhaps they differ about the way to achieve peace. There are those who object to making concessions to the Palestinian Authority on the West Bank, especially since Hamas continues to control Gaza.
I don't conduct the negotiations. I support the peace policy. It is my duty. And the president must be a president of everybody, but it doesn't mean the president should be president of nothing, of nobody. Can you imagine a president doesn't have a view about peace, about the future? I think I represent a consensus, the widest possible consensus. It doesn't mean I can support everybody, even people who are doubtful about peace. It doesn't make any sense.
With the present political situation so tenuous, can the Jewish community feel confident in praying for a better year in 5768 on this Rosh Hashanah? That's the question IBA's Eli Wagelanter put to the residents of Sderot and Jerusalem.
We can always pray. It's the last thing we can do for us. It's the last thing that all the people here have. Yeah, I will pray.
We must have a hope. Without hope, we can't live anymore. We must have a hope. We are a very strong country. We have very strong army. We have very strong minds in heads. They must use them for change.
There's always what to pray for, and every year it's from new. It's not. It starts from the beginning every year. So,
what are you praying for?
I'm praying everything should be good. This country should stay like it is. It should be alive still with the people going around. God should bless everybody.
I can pray for us that we'll have a more peaceful year, but I don't think there's going to be any real changes on the ground in terms of, you know, a permanent solution or anything like that. I mean, please God, something will happen, but I don't, in my eyes now, I can't see anything major happening.
Yes, because I depend on God. I don't depend on them. I depend on God to make things better. I've learned not to depend on the government.
I always pray with confidence, because Hashem usually answers our prayers.
Well, we've been in a bad situation for a long time. You think he's answering our prayers?
Well, he answers them. It might be like, might not know the answer, but it might not be what we want, but it's, in the end product, it's always for the best, even if we don't see it now.
A Lebanese court announced that the corpse identified as Abssi by his wife and daughter was not Absi's, leaving many unanswered questions about Absi's fate and its effect on security in Lebanon.
A Lebanese court announced that the body in a hospital in Tripoli does not belong to Shakir al-Absi, the leader of Fatah al-Islam. This conclusion was based on DNA testing and a confession obtained from a Yemeni detainee who said that al-Absi was able to escape before the Lebanese army raided the camp. These facts have raised questions about the fate of al-Absi and other Fatah al-Islam leaders. Where is al-Absi? Was he able to escape from the refugee camp, and when? Who helped him escape? Was he aided by other groups? Was he accompanied by other people, and how many? Where are the other Fatah al-Islam leaders? Was the confession of the Yemeni national honest, or did al-Absi and other leaders escape earlier? And when did Sha'ab Qaddur, Abu Huraira, leave the refugee camp? The issue of al-Absi also raises questions about Abu Huraira. How did he escape, and how was he killed? What about the fact that al-Absi's wife and daughter had identified al-Absi's body? Is the government trying to mislead the people by making his fate a mystery? What is the position of the Lebanese judiciary system? And if this was not al-Absi, then whose body is it? These questions deserve clear answers so the security of the army and the country will not be threatened. The security of Lebanon can't be achieved by eliminating Fatah al-Islam group and leaving their leaders free.
The Prime Minister of the illegitimate government, Fuad Signora, met with former Minister Raja Abed to discuss with him the latest developments. Signora also met a delegation from Hamas, headed by the movement's leader in Lebanon, Osama Hamdan, who said that the Palestinians and the Lebanese do not have differences over Nahr al-Bared refugee camp. Hamdan said that the internal differences among Palestinians will not be transferred to Lebanon because Hamas's policy is to contain the Palestinian differences in order to keep the situation of the Palestinians in Lebanon stable. Hamdan also commented on Al-Absi's controversy.
First of all, we were surprised like everyone else. The minute we heard that Al-Absi's body was transported to a hospital in Tripoli, we thought that the problem would end with his death. On the other hand, you may remember I had told many television stations that I prefer to wait until the results of the investigation have been released. We were not going to try and predict the outcome because this may influence the investigations. We will make comments once there are results and things become clearer. I would like to emphasize that we are interested to see this case resolved so that nothing can be used to escalate the crises and create more problems, God forbid. The Palestinians took a clear position by condemning Fatah al-Islam group and refused to protect them. Therefore, it is illogical that a group would repeat the Fatah al-Islam experiment in another Palestinian refugee camp in Lebanon. I think that no Palestinian refugee camp is willing to tolerate a similar experience under any condition.
President George Bush is expected to make an announcement on troop reductions in the next few days, but he's not likely to confirm a timetable. Meanwhile, Iraq's national security advisor has said he expects the number of U.S. troops in Iraq to fall to 100,000 by the end of next year.
From now till the middle of next year, we can go down to 130,000 troops. Maybe by the end of next year, we can go down to less than 100,000. And maybe as we approach 2009, we can be talking about less than 90,000 troops. This is what we hope for.
So all this assessment from the top U.S. advisors in Iraq has tried to paint a picture of significant progress in the country, whilst also warning a U.S.-led coalition presence will need to remain for some time yet. But on the ground, Iraqis see quite a different picture. August was the most deadly month for civilians this year.
Well, now, in an exclusive interview with Al Jazeera, the leading spokesman for a major Sunni armed group says he'll talk peace with the Americans if they'll state a timetable for troop withdrawals. Owen Fay reports.
Over the past few days, George Bush and his generals have been insisting their military surge is working. And as the strongest measure of proof for that argument, they continually cite progress in Al-Anbar province. They proudly state that tribal leaders and Sunni resistance groups are turning against al-Qaeda in Iraq and are now engaged in a bloody struggle to reclaim their own territory. Are they telling the truth? Is this indeed happening as the White House says? Not according to the spokesman of one of the very groups to whom Bush is referring. Ibrahim al-Shimari says Sunni groups are indeed turning away from al-Qaeda, but not because of any deal with the Americans.
Al-Qaeda's agenda started to reveal itself clearly. On October last year, 2006, they started to consider themselves as a state, and they started to target other Iraqi resistance groups. You know, like the prominent Sunni personnel, which caused great upset in the Sunni community, which affected our relationship with them. These killings started the media between them and us, but we decided to stop it quickly in order not to give the enemy any chance to benefit from this.
Shimari says this change in relations with al-Qaeda shouldn't confuse the broader issue, and that is that his group and many others like it are still at war with the Americans and with the Iraqi government. However, Shimari says that if the Americans were willing to accept reality, the Islamic Army would, in turn, be willing to sit down with them.
In the name of God. As I've said, we will not refuse to talk with the Americans. From the beginning, we announced that we have two main conditions for sitting to talks, and to make it a fruitful and successful dialogue for both parties. First, if the Americans are willing to negotiate, then we are ready to do as well. But on one condition, Congress should adopt a resolution that asks for the withdrawal of the American troops from Iraq. America should admit that there's a resistance in Iraq, which is the sole and real representative of the Iraqi people.
But Shimari utterly rejects the central thesis of the surge. In fact, he thinks the entire premise of the surge is nothing more than a convenient excuse for Bush to avoid responsibility for this war.
I think the American administration is trying to handle the defeat to the next president, whom we expect him to be a Democrat, but Bush will not admit his forced failure in Iraq. Therefore, I think Bush is buying time, just delaying the defeat to save himself.
The changing fortunes in Anbar province are undeniable. So too is the fact that Al-Qaeda has lost badly needed alliances with Sunni groups who are now turning their arms against them. But what is also undeniable, according to the leaders of those very groups, is that despite what George Bush and his generals might argue, the success they are seeing in Iraq has very little to do with the Americans at all. Owen Fay, Al Jazeera.
Regardless of where Iraqis live throughout the world, their customs and traditions in welcoming the blessed month of Ramadan do not change.
The Ramadan spirit is known for its prayers and warm family atmosphere, one way Iraqis living abroad maintain their lifestyle as if they were living in their own country.
Iraqis, wherever they go outside their country, carry with them their long-held values and traditions. They express this at every occasion while they live far away from their family and relatives. Many Iraqis in Tehran express their happiness and readiness to welcome the month of obedience and forgiveness.
Iraqis wait patiently for this virtuous month, especially those who live abroad. They hope to quickly return to the land of the sacred sites. They want their hearts to be content, knowing that the Almighty will answer their prayers and has forgiven their mistakes and bad deeds.
وكفر عنهم سيئاتهم وأخطاءهم. استقبال شهر رمضان معمولا.
According to our custom, 2 or 3 days before Ramadan, Iraqis fast. We start fasting at the end of the month of Sha'ban. During the iftar meals, we first eat dates and drink warm water.
نستقبل شهر رمضان إن شاء الله بالمجالس القرآن.
God willing, we welcome the month of Ramadan by reading the Quran, fasting before the month, and preparing for the iftar meals. We also pray. We prepare some of the iftar meals, like kibbeh and other foods.
والأكلات الفطور بعد نحضرها شيء الكبة والأكلات.
The preparation for Ramadan by Iraqis living abroad is comprehensive. It entails obtaining the necessities to make the iftar meals and turning towards God so that these coming days will be full of ease, goodness, and prosperity for the Iraqi people.
Ramadan is a month of blessings and obedience, and we hope that all Muslims are unified, cooperate with one another, and love one another. Ramadan is a month of blessings, charity, obedience, and worship. Of course, for us living abroad, Ramadan has special importance. It is about worship and the purification of the soul.
The Shurja market is one of the most famous popular markets in Iraq. Life has returned there once again after explosions kept shoppers away. The Iraqi government has decided to lift the curfew during the month of Ramadan, giving citizens a chance to shop without fear. Jawad Al-Hatab has the details.
Residents of Baghdad wake up early to prepare for the month of Ramadan. Just as they prepare for this blessed month, so does the famous Sharjah market, whose history goes back more than 5 centuries and today has returned to life. Traders hope that people will buy their products and that shoppers will overcome their fear of explosions, which have targeted the market in the past.
If God Almighty has destined us to receive bounties during this month to compensate us for what has passed, then we will be compensated. And these are our bounties in life.
We ask of officials, especially during the blessed month of Ramadan, to pay close attention to the citizens because they are wounded and are suffering from many problems, amongst many other things. Despite the security situation, we go out to display our products.
The decision by the new Iraqi government to lift the curfew that has been imposed on Fridays for many months will give deprived shoppers a chance to shop at Sharjah and return to the aromas of the past, filled with incense, perfumes, and cuisines. The generous month of Ramadan also brings many nice memories.
A fasting person craves everything. Even if he doesn't get it, he craves everything. Iraqis have special customs. Our table is always full, so when it is time for iftar, one expects to eat.
Before, we used to allocate for extra spending for purchases during the month of Ramadan. Now, we are limiting it to necessities so that we can just get by, especially since the Ministry of Trade has neglected to give out food vouchers and other allocations.
Like other old popular markets, the Sharjah market gives one a complete image of the country and its people. With the start of the month of fasting, has the Sharjah market been revived by its visitors and shoppers, as well as the reopening of its stores, which have been often targeted by explosions? Jawad Al-Hatab, Al-Arabiya, Baghdad.
Hello, my name is Lana Nasser. I am part of the production team of Link TV's news digest, Mosaic, News from the Middle East. I am an artist who avoided the news for many years because I found myself not knowing what to believe. Most of what I heard sounded more like propaganda campaigns than anything else. Now at Mosaic, I look at over 30 Middle Eastern news broadcasts every day to select, translate, and narrate. Why do I do it? Because I think it's important. As an Arab and an American, I take pride in working for Mosaic because I believe it truly brings us uncensored and diverse views of the Middle East. As you may know by now, this is a very critical time for Mosaic. We need to raise $200,000 in the next few months to keep this program alive and on the air through December. If you watch Mosaic, you know it's important to keep it alive. So do your part and help us continue what was started here and advance it. The number is on your screen, so call or log on to linktv.org and donate whatever you'd like. Every dollar counts. If you can't afford the donation you'd like, then become a sustaining supporter. It's an easy way to support Mosaic all year round. Just go online and put in whatever monthly amount you feel comfortable with. You can tell us to stop at any time. Mosaic simply cannot happen anywhere else. You will not find it at any mainstream outlet. It needs a completely free outlet like Link TV to exist. And as part of the Mosaic team, I can tell you firsthand that we don't censor anything because of threats from advertisers or corporate underwriters. This is your station. We cannot do it without you. If you think that uncensored, underreported stories from the Middle East are critical right now, then call the number on your screen. Make a tax-deductible contribution before the summer is over. Thank you for watching.
Mosaic needs your support. Help us reach our goal to raise $200,000 by the end of the year to keep Mosaic on the air. Pledge your gift today at 1-866-485-8848 or linktv.org. Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic Video Podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.